Welcome everyone. We are going to talk about all things feeding horses. This is going to be a good one, jam-packed with so much knowledge. We're going to talk about everything from forage to minerals to supplements to grain to electrolytes. We're going to talk about it all. So, if you guys haven't heard already, I'm going to kind of introduce myself, give you guys a little bit of background of how we're going to kind of work this live. If you guys are just hopping on, this is going to be all things feeding horses. I have pre-submitted questions that I'm going to answer as well. I will answer those at the very end. I don't think this is going to go over more than 10-15 minutes, so hang tight, get your papers out. We're going to get a lot of information packed into this live. So if you guys have questions specific to feeding horses, please drop them below. Again, I have some questions that were pre-submitted, and I'm going to answer those first, and then I'll get to the questions that you guys have just submitted here on this live. So let me just introduce myself really quick and let's get going. So my name is Brianna Brown. If you guys haven't, you probably are already following me if you landed here, but if you're not, be sure to follow. I bring all things horses, barrel racing, training, how to care for your horse, how to feed your horse, anything related to horses, I post about it. My whole goal is to bring horsemanship back into barrel racing, and so I get on here and just provide as much information and knowledge as I possibly can about horses, and how to train them, how to care for them, how to feed them. So, now that we have that out of the way, let's kind of start off and let's talk about forage. We're going to begin with forage and kind of work our way down the whole feeding program thing. To answer everyone's questions about if this will be saved, I'm going to try and save this live, and that way I can post it to my page just in case you missed out. And then if you have to rewatch it, take notes, you can do that as well. So, let's talk about forage though. Let's get into this. So, forage is going to be the very basis of your horse's feeding program. There is no way you can get around without feeding forage. You have to feed forage. So, forage can come in a different form, right? There's a couple different forms. So, it can either be in like a chopped version, which I have here on my shelf, or a cube version, or a pelleted version, or just in the bale form. So there's a lot of different forms of forage that you can feed, but all are going to be the same. Sometimes they just come in a different form. So it makes it really nice if you have horses with allergies. You can move to something like the pellets where they're going to have less allergies. If you're traveling, you can move to something like the cubes. Like, there's so many different things that you can do just to make it a little bit easier for you and your horses and make your life easier as well. So, again, we're going to talk about the beginning, and that's going to be the forage and the minerals. So, starting out with the forage, I've got a lot of questions about how much do I feed? How do I know if my horse is getting enough? How do I gain weight on my horse? How do I lose weight on my horse? And all of that is going to come down to one specific thing, and that's going to be feeding that right range of forage. So, horses need 1.5 to 2.5% of forage of their body weight in pounds per day. Okay, so take that, figure it out. If you have a horse that's pretty easy keeper, they look good right now, you're going to stick more to the 1.5 range. Now, if you have a horse that's like so skinny, can't keep weight on them, you have no idea what's going on, stick more to the 2.5 range. Now, really important to note, everything that you do with your horse, and most people probably know this, but if you don't, everything that you do with your horse needs to be done so slowly. Okay, so if you're going to switch over from like a bale to the pelleted form, do that very slowly over 2 months. Mix it up, start adding in here and there, add in here and there, and then slowly get over to the point where you're just feeding one. Okay, so that goes for supplements as well. Or if you have your horse on grain and you're taking him off grain, do everything so slowly. Horses' guts are very sensitive, right? They'll colic if you don't do anything, if you do things super fast. So be very careful about that as well. So another really important thing to notice is a lot of times people come to me and they say, I can't keep weight on my horse. I can't figure out XYZ with your horse. The best thing to really just start with, right, is get to your vet, okay? Because there could be things where they may have ulcers, they may be bleeder, and they may have worms. There could be like a whole different array of questions that your vet's going to go down and you're going to figure out. And if you're having problems with those, it's going to be a little bit harder to just tackle this with like a forage program, right? So think about it as us as humans. If we're sitting here and we're eating so good, we're working out, blah, but we have a disease, it's going to be really hard to work through those things unless we tackle the disease first. So keep that in mind as well. As far as the forage goes, that's kind of the basis, right? We want to make sure we're feeding 1.5 to 2.5% of their body weight every single day, okay? So keep in mind, horses are grazing animals, right? So they do need to have food in front of them all the time, or just most all the time. So that is really something to think about. Okay, so maybe you need to feed 3 times a day, or maybe you kind of need to make some sort of a slow feeder. I've seen a lot of people just say, oh, I throw a hay bale out there, they eat whatever they want. Well, that works fine and dandy for some horses, but if you were sitting here trying to compete on them, and you're trying to make sure that they can keep a good solid weight on, it's really, really hard to do that, just because they will eat and eat and eat and eat, and then boom, they're fat, and you're like, crap, now I have to work them extra hard. So be aware, be careful, make sure you're getting that right amount of forage every single day right into their feeding program. So that is one of the biggest things that you can do to really help your horse make sure they're maintaining that really, really good weight. I gotta get some water. Everyone knows if I do coaching calls with you, I have to get so much water. Otherwise I'm like, oh, I'm gonna cough and die over here. So now, to kind of talk about the second part of things, or I guess quickly I wanted to go over this. There has been so many studies out there, keep that in mind, where forage is so important. So if you're sitting here thinking, well, I feed mostly grain and like a little bit of forage, that's going to come back to bite you in the butt eventually, okay? Be very, very careful about that. They've got to have the forage. That is so important. So after you have the forage taken care of, you're going to want to hit the minerals. And I'm going to get my minerals. So if you guys have been following me that long, probably for even just a month, you'll know that I feed minerals from from Redmond. It's called Daily Red. But I've been feeding this for like over 5 years, I want to say. Long time. And everyone asks me, like, how do you keep Legend looking so good? How does he have so much muscle? This is such a huge key into that. If you can really make sure that your horses are taken care of from the forage and the mineral base side of things, when you work your way up, it is so much easier to build muscle, so much easier to have them feeling really good, so much easier. Okay, so let's talk super quick. This is Daily Red Fortified. This is by Redmond Equine. You guys have probably seen me talk about it. If you go to the link in my bio if you go to my page and then there's a link right above like my picture, you can click that and there is a whole bunch of info on this, the minerals, the Redmond stuff. If you want to find the forage that I like, you can find it there. There's so many things there. So if you ever see something that you're like, oh, I don't know where she's finding that, click there. So the Daily Red Fortified is going to be a mineral mix and vitamin mix that's just complete, okay? So it makes it really easy because you just feed this every single day, and then you know your horses are getting that vitamin and mineral that they need. So again, coming back to the basis, they need to have vitamins and minerals, okay? So when they have that basis is met, and everything is so much easier after that. So the Daily Red Fortified is for horses that are working, horses that are ranching, they're running barrels, running poles, like they're doing hard work, okay? And this one, the Daily Red Crushed, is a little bit lower of a dose on all the minerals and vitamins, and that's for a horse that maybe is like a buddy pony, sitting in the pasture, maybe they're not working as hard, maybe they're a really easy keeper. That's going to be something for that, okay? So those are what I recommend. Makes it really, really easy to feed. You'll kind of see on the back, there is going to be directions. It's totally backwards because of my camera, but there's going to be directions on how much to feed. It's really easy. Everything is going to be based upon the weight for your horse. So makes it really, really easy. Yes, the garlic ones are so, so good too. But these are going to be for like your normal everyday use. The garlic ones are going to be more for like the fly season. But yes, that is what it's going to be. And then I also am going to put a code in the comment. So hopefully you guys can see this. Give me just a minute. Because I get asked quite a bit, like, we're going to go through this, but I get asked quite a bit, like, where do I get the minerals? Do you have a discount code? All this stuff and things. So I'm going to put a discount code, just to save you guys money because horses are so expensive. But the discount code will allow you to get 20% off your Redmond, like, shopping spree anytime you shop. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you've used this before, if you haven't, like, you're always going to be able to get the 20% off. Okay, so code is below. There you go. So anyways, now that we have like the basis done, right? We have our forage, we have our minerals, we're solid, good to go there. Now we can kind of work our way up. Now, keep in mind, every single horse may not need more than this, okay? Every horse is going to be different, but after you get the forage and the minerals met, a lot of times you're good to go. Okay, so now after that you can supplement. Okay, so supplements are going to be something like a joint supplement, or your horse is coughing, or you just really feel like you need something to help in a certain area, whether it's like hooves or whatnot. So you can supplement if you need. Most important thing to remember with supplements is horses are not meant to be on those 24/7. So think about it like us. If we fed ourselves the same supplement, the same medicine every single day for the rest of our lives, our bodies get immune to it, and all of a sudden they stop working. So keep that in mind with horses. Sorry, bugs are attacking me. Keep that in mind with the horses. Put them on a supplement, solve whatever you're trying to solve, and then take it off of them. So the next thing that I kind of wanted to hit on, just because a lot of people ask me quite a bit about it, are the electrolytes, because we're in the hot weather season, most of us. It's hot, horses don't want to drink as much, and we really have to keep them hydrated, especially if we're like ranching on them, or we're competing on them, or whatever we might be doing. So again, this is also from Redmond, the code that I dropped, you can also use that as well. But this is a paste. Thing that I love about Redmond that I didn't actually mention is they are natural. Makes it really, really easy to feel at ease whenever you give your horse something, just because they're natural. So this is the electrolytes. I love this just because it's easier to give. They taste really, really good. If you watch videos, my horses run me over to get these things. But really easy. It helps your horse drink, keeps them hydrated. And that way, in the summer heat, you're not dealing with colic, or you're like, crap, my horse is dehydrated and they're going to tie up, and all sorts of things like that. So this is one of the things that I really, really love. So anyways, that kind of gives you, like I said, it wasn't going to be super long, but it kind of gives you a good basis of like how to feed your horse, the basis, where to start, where you can get to, all that kind of stuff as well. So now we have that all the way. If you guys have questions, please put them below. I have some questions. You can see I have some questions that were submitted beforehand. I'm going to just answer things about feeding. So if you have questions on feeding, please put them below. I will answer them. I already can see there is some questions that I didn't see yet. So put them below. I will get into that. So our first question, and I probably should have put who these were from, but I didn't. How do I know if my horse is eating enough forage? So that's going to come back to getting into that percentage range, right? So 1.5 to 2.5% of their body weight every single day, okay? Like you hear people say like, oh, that person's eating like horse. Yeah, the horses eat their body weight every single month. It's insane. So 1.5 to 2.5% of their body weight every single day in forage. And that's how you know. Now, it's always good to check things, right? Like if your horse is going, you get 2 weeks down the road and you're like, they're not really keeping weight on like they should. It's always good to adjust that and add more in where needed. Or if you're like, they're getting way too much, you can kind of subtract some out. So that's the nice thing about horses. You just kind of watch and see, subtract it out, add it in wherever you need to go. Okay, so next question, I didn't cover this yet, so I'm glad the question is there. Is grain okay to feed? Now, I'm probably going to like ruffle some feathers up with this one, but I am highly anti-grain. I don't like grain. There's a lot of research behind it. I can't go into like all the nitty-gritty stuff, but grain is just really not effective for a horse. So, I understand that there could be some like really, really small situations where grain may be needed, but if that ever happened to my horse, I would do my very best to figure out ways around it, just because there's so many negatives to it. And a lot of times grain is just expensive and it's doing nothing for your horse. So a lot of times people say, hey, I'm feeding all this grain, I'm trying to get some weight on the horse. Well, if you come back to forage, you're going to take care of that anyways and save yourself some money. It's healthier that way. You don't have to necessarily put all of the grain crap into your horse's system. So next question, last one I have here, and then I'll go to here and answer questions, is the best feed for a horse's top line. So first thing I would say, I have a video on my page that's pinned if you go to my reels. So hit my page, scroll over to the reels, which is in the middle section, and there is a video pinned that talks about top line. But let's kind of go over feeding for top line, because that is a question. So feeding for top line. The biggest thing for top line is going to be exercise on top of feeding, on top of making sure that you have a good fitting saddle and your horse is getting the proper amount of exercise. Okay, so as far as like feeding goes, I know that there's a lot of things out there that say you can feed this supplement and you can get a great top line, or you can feed this supplement and you can get a great top line. Yes, that could possibly do it, but my opinion, the easiest thing that you can do is scale back and come back to the forage. Is your horse getting enough forage? Are they getting enough minerals? Is everything going on inside the horse's body correctly? And if it is, you're not necessarily going to have a hard time building top line, okay? So if you feed them correctly with the forage, the minerals, and now you pair it with proper saddle fit, body work, and then really just the exercise, you're going to be able to build the top line up very, very easy. So be aware, in the horse world, there's a lot of scams out there, and I try and do my best to like educate you guys and say, these are the good things, these are not the good things. But there's a lot of supplements out there in the horse world where people just want to make money, and I get that, but they're not necessarily doing a whole lot for a horse. So anytime someone says like, I have a supplement to build their top line or to build their muscle, I always go, red flag, and I move on. So that is all the questions I have on my paper, but I'm going to scroll up here. If there was anything related to feeding, I will answer that. Everything related to horses or like training, please just send me a DM or leave me a comment. I can do that as well. Okay, so how often do you give your horses electrolytes, and does it depend on the horse and their diet? So I give electrolytes almost every single day, okay? So no matter if it's hot, no matter if it's cold, I really prefer that my horses are drinking the correct amount of water. So those electrolytes are really nice just because they really entice a horse to drink water, but they also keep them hydrated, kind of like Gatorade for us. So I give it, to answer your question, pretty much every single day. It's not necessarily going to depend too much on the horse just because horses need to drink no matter what they're doing. If you have a horse that's like really working hard, for sure, that horse is going to need a lot of electrolytes. Let me show you on this though. Let's see if I can show you guys. It is going to be a little bit backwards, but on their paste, you can kind of see like a direction of like, okay, this is how much my horse weighs. This is how much I need to give. For Legend, he gets 1.5 of these just because he's so freaking giant. But if your horse is, let's see, a pony or a miniature, you're going to get half. And then 900 to 1,400 pounds, you're going to get just 1 syringe. So Legend's like 1,500 pounds, so he gets 1.5. But it has right there on the instructions, same with like the minerals or whatnot. Everything is always going to be measured by how much a horse weighs. So they make it really easy. And the thing that I always tell people about this, and I tell my husband this too, because sometimes he does this for me while I'm gone, is if you give him a little bit extra, it's not going to hurt him. It's natural. It'll be just fine. Just don't like overdose them. That's probably not the best thing ever. But you don't have to be super worried that you're like, oh, what if I'm not giving enough? Or what if I am giving too much? So, okay, that is that. I'm sorry. I'm clicking through all these questions. I'm just going to really quick go through. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Drop them below. If you're still on here and you have a question about the feeding, we're kind of to the end of this. I will answer that, but I think I mostly have everything answered. Again, I'm going to save this. I'm going to post it just to make sure if everyone didn't get to attend or watch all the way, you can rewatch, take notes, all that kind of stuff. Okay, I think I mostly got everything. Okay, well, I hope that was helpful. If it wasn't, or if you need more questions answered, please always DM me. I'm so happy to help. But that should give you guys to a good start and kind of, basis of feeding. So anyways, we will catch you all later. Thank you for watching. Hopefully that was helpful.